Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you and your family, your friends, everyone involved is having a fantastic Friday the 13th. Happy Friday to you. We're going to take a look here, of course, at GMT. Got a lot of requests for this one recently here from my community, as well as a lot of my subscribers. So thanks again so much for requesting that I cover this. GMT is an interesting one, and I'm looking forward to kind of helping us understand and discover best practice and big picture. If you are new to the channel, not a financial advisor, I love teaching people how to trade. I really hope you can learn something here today. My goal and my passion is to effectively help you become a better trader. Okay, so I do have a trading community and academy, as well as I send out signals for every single trade that I take to my community members. So be sure to check that out. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. Bear in mind too, I also offer discounts for military and low-income housing. So feel free to message me and let me know if you have any questions regarding that. And thank you again to all of my single mothers who requested information recently as well that does fit the category. That being said, taking a look here at GMT. Big picture, obviously it's on this way down. We cannot say that it's back on track just yet, right? But what we can do is kind of take a look at this trend and kind of just see, how much, well, okay, hold on. Let's look at the percent first. Yeah, down 80% from its highest point, which was no less than roughly just say about 2 weeks ago, or I think it's like 15 days ago. We're up at about $4.20. Now we're at 160. So obviously it's taken a big hit. How much lower can it go? Well, technically it can go a lot lower, but here's something we want to kind of throw out there first and foremost is the fact that its previous resistance level, right at about 82 cents, it wicked all the way down to that level and bounced. Now granted, Bitcoin bounced off 27,000, a key level Fibonacci retracement line. And when it did, it's recovered ever since to 30,000. So keep in mind, this recovery here is not just for nothing. It's essentially a 116% increase from bottom to top based on Bitcoin's increase as well. But think about this though. Bitcoin had only increased, I think, somewhere in the range of 5 to 10% in that time frame, the last 24 hours. So 116% for GMT, there's definitely potential for this to come back and come back hard. All right, so let's look at some of the standard stuff and kind of go from there. Looking at the current Fibonacci retracement level, just keep in mind $1.52 could and likely should work as a support level. We can see yesterday it was a resistance, and now today will likely work as a support. So the great news about Fibonacci retracement lines is they kind of help us understand general areas in which the price will try to test and reject or test and continue. At this point, if the price comes back down and bounce off 152, just say 153 is a round number, that'd be perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. But generally speaking, at this point, that's a very good sign there. It just does imply, though, that when the price travels back up to the $2.10 range, that it will have some trouble because not only is that a Fibonacci retracement line, but we can also see here, it's a very strong support level previously. Strong supports previous are now strong resistances currently. That being said, we got to expect some turbulence when we hit 210. If we can get a candlestick close above that, it'd be very helpful, but we'd want to have at least a couple of days consolidating above that. We'll bridge that gap when we get there, but that could be our next target. So if you had a profit target in place, I would set it for $2 even or $2.05, just below that key level resistance to ensure you get filled. That's usually how I approach my strategies for take profit targets. I explain that in my trading academy and of course my videos that I make for my community, but generally speaking, that's the concept that you want to try to look for, is to set your profit targets just below a key level support or resistance. In this case, just below a resistance level or above a support for dollar cost average targets. That being said, we're up below both moving averages, of course. We've got the 20 and the 50. They're both kind of trending up here. The 50s essentially working its way up and out, and the 20s working its way down. Oftentimes, the 20 will be synonymous in a lot of ways with a trend line. So if we can break back up over the 20, it'd be very helpful to understand that we're possibly on the right side of the tracks at that point. Okay, we got a long ways to go. I think it'll probably take another few days before we get there, but generally speaking, that could be a positive eventually. But for right now, they're tentative resistance levels, and we got to respect that. You can kind of see how the 20 worked its way up here and held as a support level pretty well until it lost right there. All right, so again, good stuff there in that sense. Looking at the daily here, RSI, we got to bounce off 30. That's pretty standard. All the way from 70 down to 30. That is insane. But really cool in a sense too, because a lot of times when you see a bounce off at 30, that continuation should continue further. In most cases, it'll come back up to 50 on the RSI and either reject or break through, which puts us right at a price point of $2.10. That's really close to where we should expect the price to have either some trouble or to break through and to have that really extra momentous trend. We're not there yet, of course, but that's just kind of the idea. We're up over the 20-day SMA as well on the 4-hour, which is fantastic. That's extremely important to have that. Bitcoin broke above that here recently as well. It's kind of hugging it out and moving on upwards. So that's a really good sign there, but we can see we're rejected tentatively at 50 on the RSI. And you can see ever since we broke below back on the 30th of April, that's essentially when this downtrend started, we can see we've been stuck under 30 on the RSI. So close above 30, I'm sorry, I misspoke, 50. A close above 50 on the RSI would be extremely important to help us understand that we're on the right side of the tracks. Because right now it's kind of testing it. So once again, that kind of reiterates the fact that a close above 153 or 154 would be advantageous, because that's a key level Fibonacci retracement line that's also synonymous in a lot of ways with this behavior here on the RSI. It's interesting how those things can correlate in a lot of ways. But we do have MACD convergence. We see this across the board with most coins right now because they all hit their lowest point and they've recovered at least a little bit. So all in all, definitely some good gains to be made. Of course, if you had bought in closer to 80 to just say 120 range for GMT. But the truth of the matter is here is if we can get a bounce off of this area here at about 153, we should be in good shape to see it continue. Because right now we're making a tentative higher high. I say tentative because, of course, we haven't broken this previous high as well. But generally speaking, there is definitely a contention here for potential higher lows. And higher lows, to me, are the most important because you can inevitably, have an ascending wedge pattern with higher lows and break to the upside. It's more common than that. So we're looking for higher lows, I would say, as a starting point. Let's look at the 1 hour and see. We are, again, tentatively making higher lows. And it's a bit of a stretch to find or identify higher lows on lower time frames. Really, honestly, you want to have higher lows on larger time frames, 4 hour and the daily preferred. But the 1 hour, if we can kind of see here, we are tentatively working our way up and we're making higher lows. So as long as this next low isn't lower than 153, we should be in good shape to see that continue higher. All right, so again, that's the goal. Looking at TD sequential, we are probably we hit a 9, got a reset up to 6, and now we're kind of coming back down. So not a lot of consistency there, except for the fact that we did hit a 9 on TD sequential recently. Price went sideways, which implies that we could very well see some sideways action and or to the upside. Again, no guarantees there, but generally speaking, when you see a price come up here and kind of go sideways, it's more likely to break to the upside than the downside if it's making higher lows, which we're seeing so far. TD sequential, we already looked at that. Looking at Ichimoku Cloud, this is synonymous in a lot of ways with Bitcoin. In fact, very similar to Bitcoin, except we had this false positive where it broke above on May 8th. But generally speaking, we can see if you exclude this one little section here, the price has been below the cloud ever since it started trending down on the 28th/30th of April. So for the last 2 weeks straight, we've been stuck underneath the cloud. So a break back above the cloud does imply that we're on the right side of the tracks, and we should expect the price action to continue to stay above the cloud and work its way up and over. Okay? So there's really good signs here. So just keep in mind, though, that this isn't necessarily a consideration to take a position right now. It's more so if you have one open, leave it open. But if you want to add to your position, that's not a problem either, because of the fact that if we can kind of stay above 153, we should be in pretty good shape. Again, handful of different things that could happen, but being above the cloud with a MACD convergence in the 4 hour and the overall sense of GMT being quite strong, and also how much volume we're seeing here too, that's extremely important to acknowledge. That's a very, very helpful understanding of the fact that we are likely going to continue to progress sideways or up from here. Once again, this is all on a razor's edge. If Bitcoin loses 27,000 or just say it drops back down to 29 or 28, we might not see this type of behavior from GMT. We might actually see the price continue to progress lower. So again, keep in mind Bitcoin it is somewhat of a catalyst here for all coins right now. GMT as well, okay? But again, GMT is looking much better than most coins out there right now also, so we got to acknowledge that. And that's an important thing to recognize too, is its comparison there. Also note as well, one last thing, that Bitcoin dominance is not going down. It's only inevitably gone up in the last 24 to 48 hours, which does imply that we may not see a tremendous amount of surges from altcoins, even though we had a nice recovery today. We want to see that Bitcoin dominance come down in order to address that. Okay. So that being said, that's kind of where we're at here for now. GMT, I would say overall, is in good shape. I think we will see a recovery to the upper twos, maybe low $3 range, and we should be able to, as a community, hit our original profit target that we set. Again, before all this reset stuff happened, right? So big picture, GMT is looking good tentatively on the shorter time frames. But once again, pay attention to Bitcoin. I make Bitcoin videos daily if you want to look at that. and understand the general sense there, because that is probably the most important thing to understand right now. That being said, thank you so much for joining me here. I look forward to working with you. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is the site, link in the description below. I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.